What is good, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Anime Cavalcade. Yes, and of course we have a new week of anime, which means we got a new week of podcasts to talk about all the little things that is going on and what's been happening this week in the world of anime. At least episode-wise. It sounds like we're about to talk about the news, but there are some stuff that's come out, but frankly, I'm not equipped to talk about that, nor do I find it fun talking about that. There are other YouTubers that do that. I'm just here to talk to you guys about anime episodes, the new episodes that come out, whether I like them, whether I think they're good or not, and whether I think you should be watching them. And of course, we have our massive list of shit, which is the 12 anime. Now, it is going to be a little different because we are not going to be talking about Sakamoto's Days this week because I don't know what happened, but the newest episode for Sakamoto Days has not come out at the time of this recording. But we will be talking about a particular anime that we are adding, which means we're doing 13. So, I mean, if we can, we're doing 13, which is quite a lot if I do say so myself. But we're going to be talking about Takopi Original Sin because I saw a clip for it. I was very excited, and man, that was a lot. That anime is a lot to take. But you know what? I got a lot of thoughts on it. I got a lot of thoughts on Takopi Original Sin. Sorry, I'm getting two completely different anime confused. But we're going to be talking about that anime. There is a lot to talk about within that anime, and that will probably be a big portion of this part of the podcast. But with that being said, I rambled on for long enough. Let's get into the good. And the first anime that we're going to be talking about is Dandadan episode 4. And this was kind of a big episode because this one felt like an episode where it should have been like a season finale because we had Momo coming out trying to stop the whole volcano from exploding, dealing with the family as she's being chased around and whatnot, and we see the main, like the evil eye villain who took over Gigi, he come out, and then the shrine dude that we see earlier in like one episode, he comes to help because apparently he's a disciple of Psycho, who is Momo's grandmother, and like then Psycho eventually comes along with like Mantis Strip and Mantis Strip's child, and with the like mannequin science creature dude. It was just a bunch of people coming up just to fight this evil eye guy, and it felt like it should have been like closer to like an end of series stuff, which I was surprised they pulled off a bunch of stuff like that. But I will say it was cool. It was well animated. I mean, it's Dandadan. Saying a Dandadan episode is well animated, it's just like saying I drink water on a regular basis. Of course you do, because it's just normal at this point. I will say I did like how they captured that him, where they had the whole plan of Psycho and Granny Psycho and Jesus Christ, the dude from the shrine, how they were teaming up in order to try to like put the evil eye dude into a position where they can actually capture him, and then use the science mannequin to actually like seal him up properly. So now Gigi/Evil Eye is just sealed within the mannequin. Now the question is how they're going to get him out, which I didn't think that this was going to be the case. I didn't suspect any of this. I didn't suspect Mantis Strip coming back. I didn't suspect like we were gonna see his child like flying the spaceship. I wasn't expecting them to actually help out. And then obviously with the end of the episode, we see that Okarun is also fine. He was, I guess whatever happened, either the actual something ended up sealing Okarun and Turbo Granny inside a shell. I can't remember if it was something from the worm or some weird thing that came from Evil Eye. I wasn't paying attention. I was just kind of like caught up in the spectacle of the end because Momo and Okarun, like they got really close. They got a little buddy close, and it was actually quite very cute and adorable to see. And yeah, man, I like that. I like that a lot. I understand why a lot of people call this like a shonen anime, but also why people say that like, you could call this a romance because it does do a little bit of everything, and it was fun to see that. It was fun to see them, get close, and Momo actually like extremely care. Like we already know Momo cared for Okarun, and we know Okarun cared for Momo, but it was just nice to like see that moment of Momo just being like, fuck like the weirdness, fuck how I feel. I just want to show my appreciation to this boy who has, saved me a bunch of times. I've saved him, and has been by my side and trying to keep the promise. So I thought it was very cute. Yeah, but as far as the next steps after this, I actually do not know where they go for this. Like I genuinely don't. I genuinely don't know what direction they could possibly go for the next season. Next episode of this, because again, like I said, this episode felt like like it should have been put at like the very end. Like I felt like we should have gotten like a whole season of this. And on top of that, a lot of the trailers also showed the fact that a lot of like the trailers we saw were going to be of these first 4 episodes. But now we're past that. It was kind of the situation I had with, oh my god, I forget which anime it was, but it was an anime that like it only showed the first couple of episodes of like what was happening for season 2 in the trailers, which makes sense obviously. But then I sat there, I'm like, okay, well that was just 4 episodes. Where do we go from here? Because assumingly Dandadan season 2 is also going to be a 12 episode anime. And we're only on season 4. And the main plot points that they were talking about is already done. Like, well, not already done, but I assume we'll probably get 1 or 2 more episodes with Evil Eye, because, again, we got to bring back Gigi. But after that, I wonder where we go from here. And I wonder if the season is going to introduce a specific character from the manga. I'm not going to say it for, obviously, the non-manga readers. And I don't even read the manga. I've just been spoiled a lot because Twitter likes to be Twitter and spoil everything. To be honest, I'm also a Blue Lock and Jujutsu Kaisen fan, so I'm part of the problem. But I'm very excited to see what comes next. I did think we were going to spend more time on this, and I think this specific arc was given like a decent amount of time. I mean, if you also think about it as well, this specific arc started back in season 1. The season 1 ended in the middle of this arc, which I always found just super weird. The fact that it did that, like the season 1 already felt like it stopped at a really weird place, and like it felt like season 1. Honestly, this feels like it should have been the season 1 finale, rather than, you know, what we got for the season 1 finale, which was them just staring into the hole. Because again, it just feels bigger. And maybe that's I don't know if there were some complications or if they planned it that way, but like it is what it is, I guess. Like that's fine. But I'm very interested where we go next. I hope whatever arc we get is an arc that ends when the season ends. That way we get a nice, you know, satisfying ending, or like a nice like and stop and I can't talk. A nice stopping point, unlike season 1. But other than that, yeah, good episode, fun episode, great animation. Honestly, there's not much to say about this one. And I'm glad, because obviously last episode was big because obviously it was the first impression. So again, we're back to the 1 episode a week thing. So don't be surprised if the things that I say when it comes to a lot of these anime end up being quite short. But before we get into the video today, I'd like to talk about one of the partners that we have for this channel, and that partner is Dubby. Dubby is an energy drink that prides itself in trying to be a different brand, as it has 0 sugar, 0 maltodextrin fillers, 0 artificial flavors or dyes, no secret formula, and no hidden type of ingredient. So everything that you get with Dubby is going to be a healthy option. And to help with that healthier option, they add vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic that helps with the little noggin, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. All of that packaged together super well in a powdered energy drink that they try their best to make taste as unique as possible. So anything that you taste from Dubby, you're definitely not going to be tasting anywhere else. And I gotta say, my current favorites right now are the Japanese soda flavor and the California mango cream, because my god, those two are damn near delicious. And the tubs that they offer on their shop come down to $1 per drink, which means you're gonna get a better deal than you would ever get at Starbucks or ever going to the store and getting a canned energy drink. So with the healthy additives, the better cost, and the better taste, Dubby is a perfect option for any gamer, content creator, or whatever you do out there. No matter what you do, and no matter what activity you partake in, Dubby will always be a good option to go for. And trust me, I don't want to be somebody that pushes on an ad to you guys that I would use myself. And I have been partnered with Dubby for a while now, and it's a shame that I have not pushed them as hard as I have, because I have used them as a quick alternative when I'm in a rush or if I need just a little bit different to not give me the jitters whenever I drink my coffee. And Dubby has been a perfect additive and a perfect substitute. Not to mention their community is one of the best that I've ever been a part of. They collaborate with small creators, they have a bunch of collabs with other creators to make tumblers and special drinks. Honestly, Dubby not only is a good product, but is overall a good company. So go ahead and get yourself a tub of Dubby today, and you know what? If you click the link in the description or in the comment section, go to that little referral link on your checkout, use code Kurosaki to get 10% off your order from your boy right here. Thank you, Dubby, for being a wonderful partner of this channel. Now let's get back properly into the video. Next up on our list of anime, we have My Dress Up Darling Season 2, which I think this is episode 4. It should be episode 4. And this episode revolved around Marin and Gojo's class having some type of school festival thing, or I know it's part of the beauty pageant, but the beauty pageant is part of some part of the festival, or the school festival that happens in almost every type of school anime, literally ever. So there's a beauty pageant, and obviously they elect Marin, and Marin's like, oh yeah, I get to like do that. And it's like, hey, just so you know, girls are gonna have to dress up as guys are gonna have to dress up as girls, and you're gonna have to like, do male things as a woman, do woman things as a man in order to impress the judges. So that means Marin gets to cosplay. She's happy about that. And I was quite surprised when the class called out Gojo to ask him if he wanted to actually create the costume for Marin. So, which is cool because it's like, oh, everyone's kind of just appreciating him. And this is where I thought we were going to get the point where there were going to be some people in the class that was going to be like, oh, Gojo does this. It's like kind of weird. That's like, it's like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? Like, he makes clothes. It's so weird. But no, everyone was like pretty accepting of Gojo, which I actually really like. It's cool and it's wholesome. You see all the people in the class being like, oh shit, well yeah, Marin and Gojo are gonna end up fucking killing this thing. I will also bring up that part of the episode is revolved around the show that Marin wants to cosplay. And first off, everyone is super excited about the show. That everyone's like talking about like, oh man, there's this character and it's so cool. It makes me so great. And there's like a bento scene and it made me want to cry. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is like whatever. Like they were just bringing up a show. Dude, they show like a portion of this episode is dedicated to just showing us the show. I want this show so badly because the premise of the show within this show is that there is a girl who got transferred to an all-girls school. And the first episode is that she gives a bento to a dude who's just like looks sad on the bench. It's like, oh well, like it's okay, like I made an extra bento if you want it, like blah 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 blah. And then when she's at school, she sees there's like the student council president and she's beautiful and elegant. And then she finds out that the student council president is actually like a host but dressing up as a male. And then it gets to the whole thing where it's like, oh well, the guys like find out that this high school girl is cosplaying as a hostess. I'm not hostess, as a host. But like the person who's one of the, I forget the girl's name, but the student council president, one of her biggest hosts is like, no, we all knew that she was a girl, but it doesn't matter, woman or not, she makes us feel safe and wanted. And then there's a whole part where like the student council president's like, my God, like my bento is like, this bento is great and I like it. And she's like, oh, well, you probably eat like a lot of fancy food and all that stuff. Like my bento's nothing. You probably think it's whatever. And you treat everybody like this. Meanwhile, the student council president's like, no, it reminds me of my mother. It makes me feel safe and reminds me of home. And I want you to know that. I want this anime. That anime looks super cute because I thought they were gonna play it off as like it's like a typical whatever anime, like reverse harem anime. I'm like, oh, there's this girl and everyone's chasing after her, but obviously there's the main love interest and blah blah blah. No, it has a really interesting dynamic and it actually addresses some cool things that I like about wanting to, no matter who you are, you should treat people well and treat people good. And sometimes, just little gestures like that could mean a lot for a person. You don't need to have a big old spectacle. And I fucking love that. This is the second time that My Dress Up Darling has put a show within its show that I just want to exist. The first one I think was the space evil show, which I wasn't super excited about. That one was just a cool concept. I didn't think it'd be like this, oh my God, I want it now. But I was like, I could see this actually being real and actually being something that exists. At this point, I have to assume that the creator of My Dress Up Darling is just every season going to plant the seeds of an anime concept that by the time that and to be fair, My Dress Up Darling is over. I'm pretty sure the manga's wrapped up, but I can see if people like the idea enough. It's like, hey, what if we had the spin-off for this show, or what if we've had the spin-off for that show? It's actually quite genius now that I think about it. Like the idea that something from a show is a spin-off just because it's a show. Like The only anime that I know that's really done that, and to be fair, I don't know if any anime does, but to my knowledge, the one that I watched and know is that there was an anime called Nice Sidonia that had either a movie or a TV show in it called Blame, and the creator actually turned Blame into an actual like manga at some point. Either that or Blame was something, and I don't remember. That's a whole conversation for a different day. But it seems like Gojo and Marin, they won't have much time since Marin's probably going to have to make the outfits since Gojo has to go help with other student council stuff and on top of that his own homework. So both of them have like their own little like, oh, you know, like it sucks. Where Marin's like, well, you know, I'm excited to go to the fabric store and get all things I need, but without Gojo, it kind of sucks. And Gojo's sitting there being like, well, I don't want to disappoint Marin as much as I can to try to help make the outfit, but I gotta also help everybody and I try not to be burnt out. And I thought it warmed my heart so much. Him walking into the classroom and all his classmates just sitting there being like, Gojo, why are you here? And I was like, what do you mean why I'm here? It's like, you're supposed to make the costume. And he's like, yeah, but you guys need help with like setting up the school festival stuff, right? And then the one girl, which she's starting to just become my favorite because she's just the most direct person ever. She just goes, she's like, Gojo, were you gonna try to do this on top of like making the costume, on top of just general schoolwork stuff? Go make the costume for Marin because we don't need you burning yourself out. And everyone else was like, yeah, don't worry about it, man. Like, you can rely on us. We want you to put your full energy into this because we know that this is your craft and we know that you need to focus. And honestly, W fucking classmates, man. W fucking classmates. I wish I had classmates like that back in the day. I actually found it even more hilarious over the fact that everyone's like, oh yeah, man, no worry. Oh, speaking of which, oh, where's Marin? It's like, oh, well, she's gonna make the outfit. And that's when everyone freaked out of like, you did what? You did what? You asked, you told Marin that she could make the outfit. Go and stop her from what she is going to mess up. How dare you let that airhead try to do something? Honestly, I thought it was cute. I thought it was super cute, even though it was like a tad mean, but also like, that's also kind of true. But like the end of it is just, Marin's happy now that Gojo's there. Gojo's extremely happy because he's like, oh, I have classmates that want me to like express myself and make me act like, want me to focus on my craft and actually want me to do the things that I love. And I'm happy. And I don't have to be weird about it. Bro, this anime, this season, I'll say it every season. I am in bliss knowing that I get a second season of my happy marriage. I mean, I am happy that I got a second season of My Happy Marriage, but I am also happy that I got a second season of My Dress Up Darling. It is wholesome, it is sweet, it is nice, it is adorable, and I love it so much. Next up on the docket, we have Shield Hero Season 4, Episode 4, 3, Season 4 or 3, one of those two. And remember in the last episode of the anime Cavalcade, where I said that if you weren't the type to be very much on the political side of things, or if you don't like the talky politics stuff, you might not want to tune into this episode or tune in the season, because it seems like it's going to be the very politicky episode. Yeah, I was mostly right for the most part, because this episode of Shield Hero, this newest episode, only took place in one space. It only took place in one space, in the same space that we ended episode 3 in. Pretty sure it was episode 3. Pretty sure it was episode 3. But the same place where we ended episode 2 or 3 in. The last episode compared to the new one of this recording, and all of it was basically just talking about how where Atla, the little white tiger girl that Naofumi has, where she's talking about how you say you guys love the Shield Hero, you say you guys want to support the Shield Hero, but you won't even bother getting him a boat to fix the situation. And then, going off being like, there are other lands, including Naofumi's village, same as here in wherever the hell they are. I forget, it starts with like an S, it's like Strifix or something like that. But her going off being like what Naofumi's doing for his village in that country is the same thing that the previous Shield Hero did. But Jarvis or Jalvis or whatever, these names are so hard, man. Like, the name of the place in the other the names of the other people. They're so hard. But Jarvis, which is the leader of the lion race, he was going off talking about how it's like, oh yeah, well, the shield hero is supposed to be this like big protector for our country. We're supposed to worship him like a god. If we're supposed to worship him like a god, and he's supposed to be the god that we worship, why was he not brought to this land? Which, to be fair, does make a good point, but Atlas also does come out with a good point herself, saying that, well, the 4 cardinal heroes are also stronger together. It would make actually no sense to summon one of the heroes away from the other 3. That just makes the 3 of the other heroes considerably weaker and makes the shield hero fucking non-existent. Then obviously there's more twists and turns that happen. The cook that was there this morning calls out that Jarvis was the one that asked him to poison the food, but Jarvis acts like he doesn't met him. The bird dude that's trying to keep Naofumi there admits that he's trying to keep him there in order to gain his favor, but also does admit that having the shield hero here is also a net positive for the country, since, you know, this is the land that worships the shield hero like a god, so that does make sense. And all of this just shenanigans and politicking is happening with everything. And eventually, one of the elders I can't remember if he was a turtle or something like that, but he comes down. He's just like, listen, I've heard everything. It's hectic and stuff. So I think it only makes sense to just solve everything in a duel. So we will get fighting. We will get fighting next episode, it seems. And it seems like that episode is going to be dedicated to just fighting. So I'm very, very interested to see the animation. Because there's a little bit of the animation. It looked like it took a good bump in quality. Which season 3 already had some pretty good animation. So they might have buffed it up again this season as well. I don't know. We're just going to have to see how well they actually, bring the heat. But I am obviously very quite excited for it. I also feel bad about mentioning it, but I feel like I gotta mention it one time. I don't even remember his name, but Atlas' brother comes in, and I get his reasoning for doing it, right? Where he steps in, and he's just like, Atlas, no, I should be the one to fight Jarvis, because I need to do this for our father, and I need to find out the truth. No, you don't, because A, Atlas is a better fighter than you. Everybody knows that. And B, dude, if you just wanted that, then just add that on to Atlas thing. Cause you don't need to be involved in order to add that stipulation, because you obviously know that Jarvis has potentially something to do with your father. So why not go ahead and just be like, Atlas, we should also take this opportunity to find that out. You don't need to insert yourself into a fight that you don't know if you're gonna win. Now, he's the bigger brother, I understand him doing that, but he's been kind of such a non-factor for the last couple of episodes. It just felt kind of weird to add him in, but I'm glad they fixed it, that Jarvis is just gonna take both of them on. And he's just like, yeah, you're both white tigers, it doesn't matter. And okay, not that I like him enough because of that, but I want Jarvis to win just because I am very interested what happens after that. Because if Jarvis wins, the white tigers get removed as one of the 4 great races, and then the lion people are going to be put in as one of the 4 great races, and he's going to end up punishing Atla, and that means the shield hero is going to have to fix everything. So I'm very interested what happens if they go down, if that's the direction they go down, but I don't think that's the case. I think this is just going to be a showcase for Atla and her brother, how they both can work together as a team. I think they'll fumble a little bit, but I think they're going to ball out and actually end up defeating Jarvis, unless Jarvis comes with some wicked insane bullshit. But I do think it's gonna be one of those things where they win, the Atla and her brother end up winning. Jarvis is gonna tell them what they know, and he might use it, the shield hero Naofumi, to stay in that country and actually figure out a little more before moving on. That's gonna be like my kind of prediction for that. But like I said, this is gonna be a very political talk every season. But next episode we will be getting some fighting, and I hope that they bring the animation. The next anime that we are going to be talking about is Takopi's Original Sin. And ladies and gentlemen, I was not ready for this episode to do the things that it did. And we have a lot to talk about because, I thought I was done with the multiple episodes talking about. Nope, we got 5. And I'm not going to go over everyone, obviously, because when I do that, it takes like 45 minutes. So obviously, I'm just going to give my whole thoughts on the entire anime 1 through 5 so far. And like I said before, I have some thoughts. Now, I want to be frank, I think the energy that I'm currently giving off right now is one of disdain, or one of disappointment, or one of non-enjoyment. Let's get one thing straight. I enjoyed Takopi's original sin to the point where even within halfway of this anime, I am already considering it as probably top 3 for this year. It's probably gonna be, there's a high chance that this anime will be anime of the year, but definitely in there with like top 3 at the very least. It is in that discussion of like S tier anime for 2025, but man, it's a lot. It's a lot. The first episode alone is a lot, because like I just have a weakness with stuff when it comes to childhood drama, childhood abuse, all that stuff. It gets to me, man. It gets to me so fucking hard. I don't know why. I'll never understand it. I mean, I do understand it, but that's a conversation for my therapist. But like in terms of just how it depicts it, how they depict the characters, all the traumas that they go through when it comes to the characters like Shizuka, when it comes to characters like, oh my god, I forgot the character's name. I want to say her name was Marina, but I genuinely cannot remember her name. And then Azuma and Shizuka and Marina, they're all going through stuff. They're all going through stuff, and it sucks to see. But then at the same time, man, each one of them, it just forms them. It's just also an underlining of, hatred's not the wrong word. I think hatred's too strong for this. But I think a better way to describe it is worry, because we see all the stuff that Myron goes through with her traumas and her home life, but we see how that shapes her as an adult. And then there's Shizuka, where we see like not only how her life is, but also, you know, the things that she's going through into school and what that can lead to, and what personality that can shape. And then there's Azuma, which is another same exact thing. You see the home life, you see that stuff. And before I say it, they all have very, very, very shitty home life. But all of them also, very much so, are, Azuma at the very least has somewhat of like, there's a lifeline there. There's a lifeline of a good life that can come out from that. And we see it in the episode, but obviously it leads to just still not great and good decisions being made. And then I still don't know quite yet how I feel about Takopi's involvement in all this. I think at the beginning I was more on the leaning of disliking it, because it felt like it broke the seriousness of what was going on a bit too much. I understand Takopi's role now. I think I was just caught up in the emotions of everything, but I do understand Takopi's position now, where it's someone on the outside who doesn't understand the human condition, who doesn't understand human like emotions and all that stuff like that. And it's somebody who you see who's looking at all these things and questioning why somebody is doing this, why someone can hurt somebody like that, how someone can do the actions they do, if these things are okay, what leads to a human to this, like seeing them being like, hey, it's not decision, but then watching somebody like kind of spiral and not make the decision. Takopi basically acts as somewhat of a morality, like despite the ignorance that Takopi has, and I would say blissful ignorance, that ignorance of you're not potentially obtuse about something, but you're more or less like the lack of understanding that you have when it comes to these interactions just makes him feel disingenuous. But that is the point. He's learning about all the human conditions and other stuff like that. And so, again, I get his role. I think sometimes it can be a bit too comedic at times, but I more understand it. I appreciated it more when he ended up turning into Marina and him experiencing the things that Marina deals with at home, and him seeing like, oh yeah, like, hey, this decision is serious and that decision is serious, and I think we're going too far. This is too much. We should probably do the right thing at some point and like shift gears from digging ourselves into the hole. And Azuma was originally that, but also you see how, you know, when it comes to logic and then certain other things, how certain other things can just kind of override that a little bit. And also, I've said it as well, if you haven't known or haven't caught on already, this anime is going to deal with serious topics. I felt like I should have said that earlier, but Takopi's original sin is going to deal with serious topics. It's going to deal with serious topics of, you know, taking your own life. It's going to deal with serious topics of child trauma. I'm not going to censor myself for this one. I'm not going to say the dumb shit like fucking sewer slide and unalive. That's just inappropriate in like most contexts. I could get it as like maybe a joke or such shit, but I'm not going to do that here just because I feel like this anime doesn't deserve that. There are appropriate words, mind you, that you could use. Like I said, taking your own life. I think childhood trauma is, it's not really censored, but I get why someone would, you know, want to avoid that on YouTube. But also I don't have to deal with monetization right now because I'm not big enough. But still, I know YouTube could be kind of censorious about that. But there are very triggering and very worrying stuff here. And I think the anime, like I said, it does a good job most of the time depicting that. Takopi is just like the one thing. But I understand their role. I'm just like unsure of it yet. But no, we delve into serious stuff. I was very worried what type of things we're going to get into and how it leads into it. But I do think that they're doing a wonderful job. I got emotional a lot of times. No crying. I haven't gotten to the point where like I sat there bald crying. I got teary-eyed a little bit. I sat there. I'm just like, oh my God. And there's really times I had visceral reactions of certain decisions being made and all that stuff when it came to adult characters and even some of the child characters. The one character that just baffled me was Shizuku, and all the shit that she goes through and like the little reveals that we have with her. Oh boy. I mean, I guess I could talk about it because again, it's the discussion episode, but like having that reveal of like who, not necessarily who Shizuku was, because again, like I said, that person probably wouldn't be that child wouldn't be that type of person if it wasn't for the trauma that they went through, if it wasn't for all the pain that they've caused. And like for like an episode, I kind of get Shizuku when it comes to Takopi getting rid of Marina. I kind of get why Shizuku would just want to believe in magic rather than admitting that something serious actually happens. But obviously it kind of goes a bit too far with, you know, her trying to convince Azuma to take the blame because Azuma has a problem with validation and loves validation, and the fact that Shizuku looks so much like Azuma's mom, and then that leading to Shizuku going, oh, you want to know the point in this anime that I think broke me the most? It was the point where we hear about Shizuku's dad, and it sucks because we have the parallel of Marina's mom and Marina's family, right? Where they're fighting, they're arguing, but every so often they still have like their interaction, stuff like that. Marina still comes back to a home with a mom and a dad. I know the dad, I think, is in the process of moving out, but like both of them in their own sick ways do care about him. Now that's a lot coming from the mom, obviously. I do think there's somewhere where she cares, but it's like it's a very toxic way where it's like, oh yeah, I care about my child, but my child has to care about me, right? Because I want my child to be on my side because I love you. You use that like, it's kind of like that. I want to say love bombing's not the right word, but it's definitely a lot more manipulative than it would be, to the point where like I would go as far as saying that me even saying that she cares is kind of insulting a little bit. I do think the dad sort of cares, because at the very least the dad is wanting to take the child, and the dad, while understanding he's probably ruining a home or some shit like that, is at the very least, you know, he's kind to the daughter at the very least. I'm trying to find silver linings here, and realistically, I probably fucking shouldn't, because both of them are still bad. Like, I'm pretty sure one is cheating and the other one is abusing the child. But still, man, like, it's just tough. It's just really tough. But I think the point where I was like, oh, this anime is actually peak. And I already assumed that this anime was going to be peak already. Like, for the first episode, I'm like, we're diving into something that is either going to be a complete joke on how it handles things, or like a masterclass. And honestly, I'm leaning more towards masterclass. But also, the twist that we get for episode 5, because the thing that made me want to start watching this was I saw a really intense clip of Marina and her mom in a certain interaction. And then I see the actual context. And it's one of those rare things of, you can watch that clip. You can watch the clip that I saw on TikTok and go through that entire episode, like go through that entire anime up to episode 5, and you still will not have guessed that context. because I was baffled, because I definitely sat there, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of confusing things. What is happening? Like, how do we get to this point? And as I just continued watching, I just sat there, I'm just like, oh, that's how we got here. What the verbatim, I sat there, just agape with my mouth, just, what the fuck? And now we are at episode 5 with the ending of it, where I think for the rest of the season, I think it is actually going to be Takopi pairing up with Azuma, because obviously in the beginning of the anime, it was Takopi and Shizuku, and we saw how that went, and it was Takopi and Marina, when we saw how that went. So, like I said, Azuma always seemed like he had at least a silver lining, because I'm not gonna lie, you look at Shizuku's life, there is no silver lining. You look at Marina's life, there is no silver lining. Both of their lives are fucked. And I think Azuma is the only one that has just a smidgen of stability enough that Takopi and Azuma might actually, or Azuma, whatever. But I think it's Azuma. But I think that their pairing will actually help both Shizuku and Marina. I think both of them are going to end up I think both of them are going to help, at the very least bring that stuff together. Now, how that's going to affect Azuma and his interactions with everything and his own traumas and his own things, I wonder a lot, and it makes me think that either we're going to go down 2 directions. Either Takopi and Azuma are going to end up fixing stuff, and it's going to be nice, but it's going to be like a major uphill battle with multiple fixes, or Azuma ends up just using the both of Shizuku and Marina in some way, shape, or form, and at that point, Azuma will also be like a failed attempt cause at a certain point, and at that point, I don't know where the anime goes. It'll go intense, but I don't know where the anime goes at that point. Because, man, that would be intense. But yeah, like I said, I have a lot of thoughts. I am really liking the anime. I want to put that clear. I am extremely liking the anime and what it does. It's fun. It's nice. It's enjoyable. It's a lot of it's good, man. A lot of it is really, really good. I'm enjoying everything that it does so far, and I'm enjoying everything that it's doing. So, I have so many thoughts. I have so many more thoughts, but we have other things to talk about right now. Just know that Takopi Original Sin, man, that's so good. It's hard. I've read my fair share. It's still not the hardest thing. I just think anything having to do with childhood trauma and child abuse, it's a lot for me, man. It's a lot for me, but it is good. I think it handles the topic of it fairly well, mostly well, maybe with a few kind of slip-ups here and there with the character Takopi. But other than that, man, genuinely so good, genuinely enthralling, enriching, definitely hard to watch, but I think it's definitely all anime worth watching. The next anime that we're going to be talking about is Gachiakuta, and you know what? They gave me what I wanted for this episode. They gave me the explanation of the power system. I was kind of expecting it this episode, either this episode or next episode, but a good portion of this episode was actually explained on how the power system work, where the character Engine, which is the dude who saves Rudo, he explains, I don't remember the name of it, and I hopefully will remember the name of it eventually, but all items have some energy lingering type stuff, and if they accumulate enough, you can usually bring some properties of items to life, or they'll take a shape or form. That's how the garbage monsters in the wastelands are formed as well. But there are people where if you pour enough of that energy into a certain item, you can either use it as your own treasure and stuff like that. And so what makes Rudo so special is that I originally thought that it was just his gloves that were able to fill that energy with things, but that's not the case. He is what Engine and the others call just a natural giver, where he can just draw out that power from any object. He's not somebody that needs to spend time with an object and cherish an object. He's just someone that can just do it on his own. He can just do it, and that item is going to automatically have whatever properties that in which the world's energy uses. And honestly, I actually think they set up that premise very nicely, because Rudo was already set up as somebody who thinks that, you know, all items need to be treasured. Like he says, he goes in to take the trash from the upper echelon society because he's like, there are things here that are just worth keeping. There are things that like are barely even broken, that you can be easily fixed, that people just throw away and they have no care for it. Now, I think this is definitely going to play into the wider way in things work, where I think a lot of people do have that idea of just throwing things away like that because they don't want that power and they don't want that giver to like manifest in a certain way. Now, what the purpose is? I have no clue. But Engine leaves Rudo by himself for a little bit, gives him some money in order to do stuff. Money gets taken and he meets somebody who's also part of the cleaners who help with like clearing out the monsters from the wasteland. So it seems like their main thing is going to be fighting a lot of those monsters that are like scattered throughout the wasteland. Now I forget this new character's name, but him and Rudo, they don't have a good interaction as well. It turns good at some point where Rudo takes his staff to try to take from the cat, but then obviously, you know, it's his staff, they have a whole fight. But then there's a point where they're actually like, being nice with each other, and honestly it's the funniest thing, Rudo's never smiled, which is, I don't know if that's true. I feel like there is a point where he has smiled before in this series. I'm like 99% sure in the last couple of episodes he did some type of smile. I think he at least smiled at the girl at some point. I'm not 100% sure. I really don't know. Maybe it's like one of those things he just does it unconscious, or I might be wrong. Maybe he never smiled before. But he tries to, and it just ruins the whole mood. They start fighting again. And we get basically what is 5 minutes of Rudo slinging poop at this member of the cleaners, his trainer. And it's powered. The poop itself is not powered, but it's a plunger that, you know, Rudo's able to get the natural ability of, and he's slinging it around, throwing poop. Fair, fine, whatever. Engine comes to pick them up. There's a girl with them. I mean, like, I didn't want to, like, say it or call it out for this anime, but it was just like, hey, generic, let's meet some people, and, you know, like, boy gets into shenanigans and ends up getting into group where he will fight with said group and eventually become friends with said group. Like, it was shonen. It was a shonen. It was a typical shonen thing. Which, nothing against it. I had fun watching it. I had a fun time enjoying it and watching it, and it was fun seeing Rudo sling poop everywhere. But like on the foundation of it, it was like, oh yeah, this is just like shonen thing. Yeah, he's sitting there being like, man, what'd I get myself into? Oh man, I mean, it was a lot less goofier than that, but still, like, it was one of those like, just like, oh yeah, shonen, like, hey, we gotta introduce members of the group type stuff. So, and that will probably be next episode too. They'll probably introduce more members of the group. We'll get more interactions, and we'll probably get we'll be like, all right, kid, let's see what you got type stuff. So that will be it. Honestly, like I said, there wasn't really much in terms of the episode. I mean, all the other thing else I could say is like the beginning. Engine brought Rudo to a hospital, get him checked out. Sold his clothes. His clothes sold for a lot of money. So it's just kind of one of those things where I sat there and I'm just like, listen, man, there wasn't much. And sometimes when it comes to these shonen anime, there won't be very much. And that happens sometimes. That just genuinely happens. You're just not going to have a lot of things to talk about, unfortunately. And I wish I could talk about more, but I don't, and honestly, I'm just babbling now at this point, so it's probably a good idea if we just move on. Next anime we're going to talk about is City the Animation, and oh man, I didn't think I was going to get to this point as quick as I was. I thought I at least was going to have a few episodes, but the charm for City Animations is already kind of falling, because I kind of sat there, and I want to say this, I did enjoy the third episode for City the Animation. I want to point that out right now. However, I will also say and admit that, you know what? Maybe I spent, like, I had to pause the recording because I spent like goddamn like 20 fucking minutes trying to just recall what had happened, which this episode comes out on Monday. I watched the newest episode on Wednesday, and I'm talking about this on a day. It's on the weekday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't remember which, I'm tired. But I don't recall much, and I read like the description of it, and I'm remembering a little bit now of what happens. And I will say that it's still fun to see all the character interactions and how people have fun and what they do and yada yada yada. And I remember seeing a comment, I won't say who, but I remember seeing a comment, not on my video, but someone saying that it reminds me a little bit of Lucky Star. And initially, I kind of wanted to sit there being like, I don't think it was Lucky Star. I don't think it was something like that. But I think, like, after sitting there and being like, oh, I don't remember anything that happened. Yeah, I kind of see that. And, like, obviously it still has pretty animation, which this might be an anime that does that. But even with some slice of life, like With You, that I would consider somewhat of a little bit of a drama, but also still very slice of lifey. With You and the Rain is definitely a slice of life anime, but I remember so much from it. Yuru Camp is a slice of life anime, but I remember so much about it. And I think what the thing is that it is nice sometimes, I think, to just watch the daily life of people, but I think this is a bit too mundane, and I think it's having for me the 2B Hero X issue, which I will talk about towards the end of this podcast when we talk about the leftovers. But when it comes to these anime, right? When it comes to these certain and particular anime, I have a hard time kind of sitting there and talking about a lot of them. Not because of I don't think it's entertaining, but I think there is a level of importance, even if an anime is super goofy and an anime is super over the top, that you focus on maybe a couple of characters. Because even though we have what I want to call them our three main girls. I forget their names, but we have at least the three main girls who are all photographers who are trying to, they have their little escapades and shenanigans and stuff like that. But obviously, they don't take up a good portion of the season, even though I feel like they're the ones that are kind of the front of everything. But also at the same time, it seems like we go back and we follow certain things. And I feel like we either need things to be like, oh, you tell like a different story every time that may not be connected, but like you could see hints of it, or just kind of focus. Because I think this storytelling of going back and forth from one story to another story to another story, and sometimes story connects, sometimes the story may not connect, and like we're telling all these stories broken apart, I'm starting to think it might not be a good form of storytelling. That's what I'm thinking. With that and 2B Hero X, now that I have like kind of a second portion of understanding like what the storytelling is, I think I kind of have to come to the conclusion that that's just not good storytelling. And it kind of sucks to say, because sitting the animation I'm having fun with, I did really like 2B Hero X, but I think when you just either don't focus on a lot of stories or don't give us a various amount of stories to at least, ruin the monotony of what you're trying to do, so I don't have to go back and remember maybe there might be a character development, and maybe I'm being too harsh on shitty the animation, maybe I should just let it ride and stuff like that. But even with a slice of life, I feel like you at least want to follow the particular person. Like, I would like it if everything that we're involved with, the girls are involved with in some way. Like, maybe the manga artist doesn't have, like the manga artist from episode 1, he doesn't have many ideas, so he wants the girls to photograph, to like, just maybe like get photos of everyday life, so maybe you can think of an idea. Or maybe the theater group thing that he's doing, like the most recent episode, there's a dude who's trying to rally all of his people, all of his animals for his 7th production in a certain type of like theater piece, and he could be like, hey, do you guys want to like take pictures of us doing that? Like, I'm okay with multiple stories, but I feel like we at least need the girls there, because I think splitting off to too many things and not focusing on a central thing, I think is not great storytelling, because it's just it's messy, and B, you don't get a focal point for people to latch onto, and at that point people are just like, well, what am I supposed to latch onto? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to latch onto. I don't know what's supposed to attract me. And I get it, this might be more for people who just want to see cool things and interact with cool things, but I think for me it's not. It's unfortunately, I don't think it's hitting, and I think this episode unfortunately kind of confirmed that for me. But I'm still having fun. I want to put that out. I'm still having fun with the anime. I'm still enjoying it, and I think the animation is still jaw-dropping amazing. But I do think the way it's just telling a story, it's just rapidly losing me. And it'd probably have a little more leeway if it wasn't coming out at the same season that 2B Hero X is still airing, which again, I'll talk about all that. But man, it's kind of hard. It's just kind of hard. The next anime that we're going to be talking about is Kaiju No. 8, episode 2. And, okay, I might have been a little off. For some reason, I thought that we were going to take longer to this point. I swear we spent, maybe I'm tripping, but, ooh, I'm so sorry. Oh, my Lord. Now, I might be tripping. I might be a little baffled. I'm not fucking sure, if I'm being honest with you, but I swear we spent more time with the divisions than I remember. Like, I thought we got a little bit of the, like, interaction with Kafka's old boy and the partner that he has. Like, I swear we had that interaction. Like, maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm forgetting, but I swear we, like, before we get to the point where the kaiju ants are invading and they're tactical, I swear that we get more time than this. But I guess we don't. I've been thinking about it, but I might have to read over this portion because I was baffled at that. I was like, wait, we're already here. I swear there should be maybe like another episode of like interactions between the first division and Shinomiya and Kafka, and seeing like the training going on with white-haired boy and reddish orange hair boy. I thought we were gonna get more, see them, but no, I guess that comes after. Well, because I do know there's also just like a training stuff, but I might be wrong as to where this season stops. Then I might be wrong, and it might make that if I'm wrong, and I thought that whatever arc we're on is going to be a lot longer than I thought it was, then the ending for where Kaiju number 8 season 2 could end might actually be a really good spot, and might actually be the same spot where I stopped reading the manga. Not because it was bad or anything, it was just I fell off of it because I was reading a bunch of manga at the time. But in regards to this episode, I mean, it's Kaiju number 8, baby. That shit was fucking good. Man, we got all the animation was fucking, let me collect myself, because I got a lot of thoughts, obviously. First off, animation is still banging as usual because it's Kaiju number 8. That hasn't changed. That's really good. Second, I like the direction that they're going with this. Well, it definitely seems like we're getting more of a serious tone, and to be fair, that's just kind of how we're getting things for the most part, just because things are getting kind of serious in the world for Kaiju number 8. But I do like it. I do like it very much. There still is a little bit of silliness. Again, I wish the first captain wasn't so silly himself and more of the like aggressive back and forth, or just all around being just kind of a goofball. Even though he is one of the strongest, this came off kind of a goofball. Also as well, I wasn't expecting to get Kaiju number 9 so quickly as well. That one kind of shocked me. I was like, which makes me think, again, I don't know if either they are just speed running this shit and they are leaving some shit out, or if I just genuinely completely forgot that like we actually get here pretty fast. It could be one or the other. I'm being completely honest, because like it's been a while since I've read the manga, so I might actually read the manga while the episodes are coming out. I don't mind rereading Kaiju number 8. It's great. It's awesome. But if that's the case, I also need to do that probably for Sakamoto days at some point. So we will see. But I'm liking it. I'm loving it, man. It's pretty good. Like, there's not much, like I said, there's not much to say when it comes to Kaiju number 8, man. Just know that the anime is banging. The anime is good. Nothing that I would like say is a red flag out the gate. It's just good shit. Like, I wish I had more to say, but again, like I said, sometimes when you just talk about one episode, sometimes an episode is just, it's good. It's fine. It's doing stuff well. Especially when it comes to stuff that you've watched, when it comes to like mangas, to anime adaptations. Like Kaiju number 8 is just killing it, man. Like, it's still good. There's nothing like out of turn that I would say, and there's nothing that like I could recall back that I should feel strongly about right now. We will feel some strong ways, and we will get to that, and I'm very interested how they approach with that. I'm very interested how they deal with how they deal with certain situations. I'm going to be very interested in that. But for right now, I mean, like, things are getting serious, but overall, it's still doing good. Next anime on the docket that we're going to be talking about is Panty and Stocking. And this is another anime where it's sort of kind of giving me the city animation feel, but in a different context. And when I mean city, the animation feel, I don't mean in the sense of bad narrative, because I don't necessarily think the Panty and Stocking narrative is bad. But I'm more talking about in the sense of just, I had an idea about it at first. I liked the idea. The more I'm consuming that idea, like after sitting with it, I don't know how I feel about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I am still in love with the idea of Panty and Stocking. But I think I was more in love with it in my mind and the idea of Panty and Stocking than I was with it now consuming it now. Me consuming it now. And to be fair, I still think it's a good anime. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I remember this anime being like a 9, a 9.5. But I also have to remember that was like 2012. So that was, my God, 13 years ago. We are driving on the highway to the grave. Holy shit. But yeah, my love for Panty and Stocking was that of something of, like I said, 10 plus years ago. I am different. I'm more refined. The top 10s that I had back in 2012, I don't even think make my top 10 now, apart from maybe 1, maybe 2 anime. Like, that's how much I'm talking about we're changing. Like, it's insane to think about, but I think it's because Panty and Stocking still has the level of crudeness it has, right? It's still crude, it's still insane, it's still bonkers to the wall, just overall bombastically insane. And I still love it about that, and I would not call this a bad anime at all. But I think that you can only take so much crudeness and so much rudeness and so many sex jokes until it just kind of gets repetitive and you lose some of the ideas. And I think for me, that's where Panty and Stocking is starting to get, where I've consumed an hour of content the first week where it was nice, but now going back and realizing, oh fuck, I'm gonna, is this kind of it? Is that all I'm getting? It's getting kind of tiring. Now, I will say there are some things that has freshened it up a bit for me, which is why I still like it and why it's still good. First off, like I said, it's way different from the City the Animation stuff because we are following one singular person, which we're following throughout the entire narrative, or a group of people. There are main characters. There are definitive following main characters for the show, which does help a lot in terms of interacting with it and such. And 2 is, on top of that, there are also just cool concepts for Panty and Stocking that I think they are going to delve into that I wouldn't have expected the first season to go through. For example, this most recent episode, we had both a solo, I say solo, the other demon sister, one of the demon sisters was working at the bookstore, but she's barely involved in it. At this point, it's more of she makes a cameo in the episode rather than actually being a part of the episode, especially since she doesn't do anything. So I'm comfortable with saying that this is a solo Panty episode. And then the second episode, a story of the episode, because they're also 15-minute intervals for the episodes, which I forgot to mention last week, apologize. But they are 2 stories within one episode. And then the second story is Stocking and the other demon sister going to do the samurai stuff, but it's the little sister and the big sister interacting with each other, where Panty and Stocking are having an argument, and the older demon sister is like, listen, I know it may not seem like it now, but deep down, the older sister does care about you. They may have weird ways of caring about you, they might have weird ways of showing that they care, but I promise you that they do. And we even see where she's going to pick up Stocking from the dojo, but the demon sister's like, no, go to your sister. Obviously she wants to hang out and she's trying to make up for it. And Stocking, even though she's still mad in a sense, begrudgingly goes, but obviously, it's you're right, I probably shouldn't fight her so much. I mean, we already got it in the first episode, but this definitely feels different, where it's more or less just them being typical Panty and Stocking, which I think is a first good episode after being gone for 10 plus years, and just reintroducing people to the idea of what Panty and Stocking is, of hey, this first episode, this is for the fans. This is for the fans who watched this 10 years ago. And I think the second episode was just to set the premise of, hey, where are we? Just so you know, this is the direction that we're going with the show, and this is how we're going to depict everything. And I think this episode, is getting into what this season is going to try to do is, hey, maybe we'll grow Panty and Stocking a little bit, maybe want to give a little bit of turmoil, but just so you know, we are going to do a bit more than just the crazy stuff. We're going to have some actual development and plots potentially here, which I like. I also need to point it out because the most recent episode for this, the episode that we're talking about right now, there's technically 3 stories, and it does have to do with Stocking. You could technically call it a solo Panty, sorry, not Stocking, Panty, but you could technically call it a solo Panty episode, but it's just a Fast and Furious parody, but with sperm. I've never thought I've had to say that, but I can't even get it out right. I said it, the more I think about it, because they play off on like where the Fast and Furious franchise is like nowadays, where it's like, oh yeah, we got the family and all that stuff. And like the dude who comes to ask for help is apparently, I think, Paul Walker, and they do the like split scene from Furious 7, I think it was, where it was like Paul Walker, you see him like split off as Vin Diesel like goes away, and obviously like Paul's not involved anymore for obvious reasons. And so like it was just one of those things where I'm just like, but like the split is them just going to different this is insane. Like this is the little goofiness that I do love, where it's just like, oh, it's crude, but it's like, it's so dumb and insane that it's like, oh, cool. It's not like Panty and Stocking both going and just being like, oh, bitch, cunt, eat my pussy, blah, 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 which is still funny. I don't wanna discredit that. That's still funny, but it's just one of those things of like, I'm 5 episodes in, how long can it be? Like, yeah, I also like a good dick joke and a good fart joke and a good poop joke, but 5 episodes of that, dog? I think I underestimated how much I'd actually love it. But if we get these little like parodies at the end of the episodes or sprinkled throughout the entire series of like movie like related things, that's gonna make me so happy. I hope this wasn't a one-off, because that was honestly the best part of the episode. I laughed extremely hard at that just Fast and Furious parody. I'm like, you guys put way too much time and just way too much effort in that. Like 100%. But I love it so much. And I love the fact that you do. I love the fact that you did, and I hope that they bring it out more. Next on the deck for all the anime that we have talking about, we have The Summer Hikaru Died. And this episode seemed like it was kind of the like true acceptance episode, where episode 3 was kind of like the, oh yeah, I know that Hikari is dead, and I like this, what is in front of me right now is not Hikari. This is some entity that's completely different. There's basically a child that probably needs to learn a little bit about this world. So this episode was kind of that. It was more focused on Hikari, and I still don't know the main boy's name. I need to remember his name, but part of the episode was doing that, and also we finally see the sister go out as they like are doing like the summer festival stuff. But also at the same time, on the other side of things, we have some of the elders who are involved with all the weird stuff that's happening, who invited the dude from the company, who are coming to help and realizing like, yep, whatever a thing is down here is down with us. He's no longer in the mountain, and God forbid he's somewhere. He actually almost gets detected because they were going up to a shrine, but as Hikari was going through, there's actually a barrier that somebody created that prevented him from going in and following our main character boy, which sets off the alarm for the dude who's associated with the company. And so like they're in like close vicinity with each other, but they don't actually like see each other. But he senses like, oh no, the thing is here. It is out the mountain. And God forbid it transformed into something that we can't tell, because if it does, we're all kind of fucked. And what I mean that this feels like the true Hikari acceptance episode is we kind of get we do get a conversation with Hikari and the main boy, where, you know, the Hikari that we have now asked him how did he know that he wasn't the real Hikari, and he sits there, he's like, well, I know because, and they're like, oh, was it because of like my the way I talk, because was it like the things that I did? And he's like, no, I just saw your dead body. And that kind of hit me, because it's like, oh, so the first episode kind of misleads us. The main character boy didn't just know in the last couple of days, and he's just processing it now. He has had this secret for months. Like, and it's worse, because it's one thing when like you try to go find your friend and you don't see him, and then you see him come back and you assume everything's fine, but you think of things weird. It's another when you know your friend has passed away, you see your friend, you feel your friend's body, you wake up randomly in your bed in the next couple of days, only to realize that your friend is back, but you know the truth, and you know that something is up. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, this isn't just immediately like, oh, I just found out. This is like I know that is not him, but I cannot bear to face the fact that might not be him, and that might be something else. And so it's just been hitting at him, and it's the first time he's really been able to like talk about it, or really been able to like share that, but he does have like a good cry. And it was one of those things where I don't know how I feel about, well, I know how I feel about, I think it is good, but I mean, how I feel about it in the sense of the main character's development and like whether it's going to go bad or good. Both are still good story options, but I don't know if so there's a point where he cries about Hikari, and he cries about Hikari pretty hardly. And one of the things that he does is Hikari tries to leave, but he still hangs on to like the Hikari that like we have here. So my thought is either A, he's still having some part of him that is battling the idea that Hikari's passed away. Like he's crying, but he also is like, yes, but you are a lookalike Hikari, so I need you to be here for me. Kind of like the toxic like interaction relationship that we saw from Takopi Original Sin, that we talked about, but not as intense compared to that show, if I'm being honest. Or it could be one of those things where he just doesn't want to be alone. Like he's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I have to accept it, but please don't leave me alone. Where he's more afraid of the idea of being alone and not having somebody, at the very least, similar to the Hikari that he can like lean on. Hikari. God, I'm thinking about fucking Twitch streamers now. But no, someone like Hikari that he can latch onto and actually, you know, be able to express his feelings and all that stuff. And just needing a good cry and just needing a friend. That's what my lead here, but like, oh man, it's playing such a dangerous game with so many things. So I do believe things are gonna get worse before it gets better for our MC. And it's true. I feel like it's true, and unfortunately, he's probably gonna feel a lot of the consequences for the actions that he has taken up to this point. I'm very interested to see what happens once it's going to happen. The village is going to find out what that thing inside of Hikari is, and they're going to go after Hikari. So I'm very interested as to see how that leads into just the whole bullshit with everything and what this village is going through and what the company's doing. I wonder how he'll play a role, whether it'll be a good role or a bad role. I don't know yet. All I know is that it's going to be a role, and I'm fascinated. The next anime we're going to be talking about is With You and the Rain. And again, this is one of those anime where I bring up City the animation a lot, but this is the opposite of how I feel, where it feels like it's a slice of life anime. But because we're focusing on, you know, Fuchan and the raccoon dog that she has, it just feels more intimate as we get to see her life. And even though there is it's a subtle change, we see her acknowledging the fact that, you know, she might like some company, that she doesn't necessarily not like being alone, but she is appreciating the fact that she can enjoy somebody's company enjoy somebody's company, and sometimes company is still, you know, nice. And I think this episode is the one that showed the best example of that, where Fuchan is, you know, she's setting up this whole thing for the fireworks. I mean, we also go to the fact where the beginning of it is another, you know, she's walking through the rain, she's taking a bath, the Tanuki dog, the raccoon dog is with her again. And even though the raccoon dog wants to be playful, she's just like, nope, peace, we enjoy peace. But a lot of it is surrounded around her being invited to fireworks stuff with her family. And, you know, they have a good time. Kichan, the little girl that's like a good friend of hers as well, they also go and they interact, and everything is wholesome. But a big takeaway for this show and for what this is the fact that the raccoon dog just disappears all of a sudden. And someone like Fuchan, I would have expected to just sit there and be like, oh, he'll come back. Like, I expected her to worry, but her be like a little bit more depressed, just like, oh, you know, well, like, I hope he's okay, blah, 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 blah. But no, she was actually genuinely worried. And I think this is probably the most energetic that we've seen Fuchan in a very, very long time, where she actually goes, she like finds the raccoon dog and chases after it. Now, it seems like he's guiding her, but I don't know if it's one of those like, maybe not. I mean, the dude can talk, so I don't know why he didn't just be like, hey, come with me, or something like that. But like, it was nice to see. It was nice to see Fuchan actually have a bit more energy and be like, oh yeah, like there's a part of her that actually like cares and can be, you know, a bit energetic. I'm not saying she's devoid of emotions either, by the way. Like, she's shown it. She's just someone who is a bit reserved and a bit more quiet. She's not as bombastic as her dad, and she's definitely not as like welcoming as her mom, if I'm being honest. Welcoming, I feel like, is a harsh word, but like, you know, she's definitely, you know, she has her own way of talking, and it's not necessarily insulting. It's just her way of talking. But that's kind of what I like about her. It's also a reason why, you know, she's up there in that waifu list, dog. But yeah, it was a cute episode. I mean, I wish there was like more to say. But again, this was one of those anime where it'll probably have a short section every time because it's just going to be, unless something big happens, it's just going to be more of like, yeah, Fuchan and the raccoon dog were doing stuff. This is what they did. I enjoyed it. It was nice to see some particular things. And that's it. And now we get to the leftovers of the spring season going into summer, with our first one being Shirley Ann. Also, this is another slice of life I just love. Again, I bring it up again. This is probably the biggest concurrent, like the biggest example of the one of how following just a singular character throughout their life and on their day-to-day life is going to be the most beneficial thing in terms of story-wise stuff. Because watching Shirley Ann go through life, man, I just want to root for her now. I just want the best for her. And it sucks because this episode was just all about how, yeah, like she is at Redmond and she's doing her best life. She's, creating roots like she wants to in Redmond. But it's obvious that there are other people who are still moving on and doing their own lives. Diana's gotten married. Jane's gotten married. All this stuff. Like everyone is going on with their own lives and doing their own thing. And while, yeah, she is at college, she is doing her stuff, it is a bit sad, man. It's a little sad and a little depressing to see her long for somebody. Now, here's my problem. She has that person, but she doesn't want to. Because the biggest thing for this episode was just the fact that Gilbert really wants Anne. It is obvious to us, and it's obvious at this point that Anne does want Gilbert, because Gilbert was talking about how he was sending letters to Ruby, and Ruby got a little bit jealous. And Gilbert was doing a little thing, tying his shoes and trying to get at her, but obviously Anne said no. Anne is trying to be avoidant, and at this point, I actually genuinely don't know why. Like, this is probably the only thing I sit there. Like, if I was the father, I'd sit there and I'm just like, Anne, baby girl, sweetheart, we know you like him, but why aren't you just shooting your shot? And to be fair, it's fine if she, obviously didn't like him, and it's fine if she wanted to pursue stuff. That's obvious. I'm not sitting there being like all the other ladies in the previous episode that was just like, oh, you don't need an education, you don't need a man. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the fact that it is obvious you get jealous when he talks about other women. It is obvious that you get sad sometimes when he leaves and he's not around. It is obvious that you look at him longingly and you have genuine conversations that you enjoy. And it is obvious that this man makes you blush. You are not hiding it well. It is obvious that you like him, but what is holding you back? And I get it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to ruin the friendship and stuff like that. It's like, but you know you like him and you know he likes you. And you know what? No, I'm not even gonna say that, because then the other issue that I have with this episode is how Jane was. Oh, bro, Jane and Anna Shirley were just having this sleeping over, and Jane was just pressing her, being like, hey, just so you know, do you have feelings for my brother? It's like, no, I don't. It's like, oh, well, he's really shy, but he's definitely had the hots for you for a while. You sure you don't? It's like, no, I don't. It's like, oh, I knew you wouldn't. But he has money and he's nice and he's sweet, and I promise that he can give you everything you want. It's like, and it's just like, dude, no. And even then she's like, I hope that he's not too heartbroken. And Jane just gives her this disgusting side eye of being don't worry, my mother has suitors that she thinks is far better for my brother than you are. And it's like, it might have not been that aggressive, but bro, I sat there, I'm like, hey, Jane, if your brother can't at least muster up the courage to actually go and at least ask Anna Shirley for herself in their hand in marriage, then brother, maybe he shouldn't. Cause there was another dude, right, when they were having their little get together things where they were having at that Green Gables, where a dude was walking Anne home, and sure, Anne was distant as shit, but at least the dude tried. At least the dude tried to do something. It was obvious he was trying to shoot a shot in some form of way. So at least he tried. Your brother didn't even try. You giving Anna Shirley the side eye? Girl. And then you add on say you know. Well, if you know, then why'd you fucking ask? Oh, wow. That I just remember having to pause that because I got genuinely upset. This is how you know I care about a character, where I start just monologuing to myself in my room, 1 o'clock in the morning, going off being like, well, girl, of course she didn't, and you already knew the answer, so what are we doing? What are we actually doing where you go off and you want to be a little sassy with your side eye. And I get it, that's your brother. You're trying to be a good sister. But you know the answer. You already know how Anne's going to react. And it's not even a well-kept secret that Gilbert and Anne are like, they have something. It's not open and it's not like they don't want to acknowledge it. And Gilbert's like someone acknowledging it and trying to push it, but Anne's not. But it's like not a secret. So like, what are we doing? Why are you being like this? Why are you being a drama queen? Why are you acting like this? I don't need petty people who know how to do this. So stop it. Stop being so sassy when you know the answer, because obviously you didn't. So don't lie to Anne's My God, this is why I can't be a dad. Because if I saw this from if I saw someone doing this to my daughter, brother, no, you can skedaddle, come back around the next day, try that again, and add that with a little bit spice of apology for my daughter for assuming you could even try to push this on her when you know damn well she couldn't. I'ma stop. I'm getting heated. Jesus, you could tell like my switch up for this show from thinking that it was okay to like me wanting to watch this every season because of just how I reacted there. When I could go on for 5 minutes about ranting about protecting a certain character, you know I'm in love with a show. I am currently writing a script right now on how this should just be the anime community's favorite girl. Anna Shirley should just be the kid. Like, this should be the must protect at all costs girl. This should be like just the favorite, like the wholesome pick. This should be the wholesome pick. This should be the one that we cheer on and we all want to protect. But like, again, just focusing back on the episode was good. It was a good episode. Another good episode. I need Gilbert and Anne at some point in the next 3 episodes. And I'm being generous with that. Because realistically, it should happen sooner. But the next 3 episodes, I hope at least there's an acceptance of feeling. An acceptance. I need Anna Shirley to just accept the fact that she has some feelings for Gilbert. And once we have that acceptance, I don't care what you do with that, because feelings can fade, feelings cannot fade. Just accept the fact that you have these feelings and we can move on with our lives. If Anna Shirley could do that for me, I'd be a happy man. And our final anime that we are talking about, after talking about so many, is To Be Hero X. And I have some thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. A lot of things are shifting with me with this show. So beforehand with this show, right, I was kind of sitting there talking about, if you watched the last episode of the anime Cavalcade, I was talking about how To Be Hero X, while it still is good and entertaining and the world's interesting and there's still a lot of things I actually like about it, and every individual story I do still appreciate and I do still really love, there is like a weird level in which like there's still certain unanswered things. The storytelling is just all over the place and it's not helping so much with how it's not helping a lot with how just everything is right now, right? That's like my issue with everything. But this episode, I feel like, made me see things again a little bit differently, in a sense, in the way in which I think maybe the things that I'm worrying about are things that I shouldn't be worrying about, in the same sense of To Be Hero X is doing it in a certain way that's both linear and not linear at the same time, and like It only took me episode 17 to kind of realize that, which is, I think, a problem. I don't know if it's a problem on me or a problem in the writing, but this episode kind of made me realize that was the case. And one of the big things that made me realize that is the idea of Hero X, where I think there's obviously the dude in the suit with the white hair. I think in timeline-wise, he's the current Hero X. It was, I think, the purple girl who was fighting Queen in a couple of episodes ago. I think she was X at one point. Queen became X at one point, right? Little Johnny's dad, I think, was X. Maybe not. I'm not 100%. I don't think he was X. But the hero named Vortex that we get introduced to in this episode, he's Hero X at the time of Little Johnny's story being told, where, you know, he's growing up with his dad who left the Hero Association and now lives at the woods, basically away from all the drama that has to do with herodom. And so one of the things that I realized, and I know I keep talking about previous episodes, but I swear they add on to, they are add-ons from the current episode that we are talking about, is that the first 3 episodes of To Be Hero X are the fact that those are the epilogues, right? Though that's like the first 3 where we're talking about Ling Ling and Nice, that's kind of like the epilogue to set up the idea, because he was the one that brought up Hero X. Hero X wasn't an idea until then. Now, the whole Iso thing, I don't know where that adds into things. I feel like it should, but obviously there are characters like the Bunny Girl and Shadow Blade and Lucky Cyan and Little Johnny and Queen who are all still interacting with each other. Again, Little Johnny has been a part of everybody's story, and now we're getting his backstory. Queen has been a part of Lucky Cyan's story as she appeared on her. She has her own. Shadow Blade is also interacting with Bunny, and Bunny is interacting with Shadow Blade's daughter. There's a lot of interacting, there's a little like intersecting stories that are being told, and so it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, I'm now seeing I think more of the idea, but I'm still having an issue of like, okay, where do we go from here? Because episode 17 follows Little Johnny's story in the beginning with the passing of his mother and his dad leaving the Hero Association. Like I said before, we see that a Big Johnny, who is the pet that he has, or his son that he likes to call it, is this, I assume, alien that crashed, and it's at the end of the episode he tweaks out because, you know, Little Johnny's dad is dead, and obviously I'm pretty sure it also connects to the emotions of Little Johnny to some extent, which is causing the reactions that he has. But the thing for me, right, is that obviously it's doing reveal stuff, it's doing stuff like that. And at some point, I have to ask what is the point of everything? Because I've said it already. I said it already before, but at a certain point, I have to go. I think the new issue I have is that it's just taking too long. It's just taking too long to explain everything, and everything is meticulous, and maybe we do need this explanation. But I think you're losing a lot of people, and I think you lose a lot of people with like sitting up there and like kind of looking at the purpose of like, okay, yes, we're like following stuff, but like we're piecing things together, but like not at an enjoyable pace at this point. Because at every episode, I swear I have more questions than answers, but not in the best way, where there's so many questions now, and a lot of them have just not been answered. And it doesn't feel like oh don't worry, that's gonna come later, just wait and see. It's kind of like oh yeah, but look at this story, right? Look at this, like, let's pause this, talk about this. It's like, okay, but why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this? And I get why, because we see that, like, oh, the person that Shadowblade murdered when his story got introduced, oh, that was Little Johnny. So Little Johnny and Shadowblade technically know each other in a sense, or like they're involved, but they just don't know it yet, because to Shadowblade, that was just another assassination. But we also see why it's like, oh, so we might know who actually Shadowblade got sent by and who and stuff like that and all the corruption stuff. I think I need all the stories to intersect at some point. And I keep saying that, but the more it goes on with every passing week, because before I was excited, and then the other time I'm like, okay, yeah, we just have to wait and see. Now I'm just kind of growing impatient, and now I'm just kind of annoyed with how everything is going on and how everything's built, to the point where if this keeps going on, like, it's just gonna kind of keep falling lower and lower, and I better at the very least get a satisfying ending. If I don't get a satisfying ending to this, or if it's or at least like a satisfying direction by the end of this, man, it's gonna be hard. Man, it's gonna be hard to really justify this. And like, cause at one point I put this up in S tier. Now I think it's like I'll probably put it in like B tier. Like, I'm probably giving it like a 7 out of 10, because I personally just can't with this anime anymore. I wish I could, but I just can't. I just can't. Again, I'll give it a little bit more grace because it has built up a lot of goodwill, and it's built up a lot of entertainment as well, because it's like the fights are still good, the fights are still awesome. Yes, we stepped away from the 3D, but the animation's still very well put together, and it's still aesthetically pleasing. I just need more. I just need more from this anime, and it sucks because it just makes me depressed talking about it, because I really do need more. I want to enjoy it, I want to like it, I want to appreciate it, but it's hard. It's hard. And that's going to do it for this week of the Anime Cavalcade. Let me know what you guys liked from this season, and let me just talk about all the anime you're watching, because I know we got a lot of anime, so go ahead and comment down below what's your favorites, what's not your favorites, what you think of the episodes that we're currently talking about right now. We got a lot of anime here, so go ahead and comment. Also, if you want to check out my main stuff, I will be trying to put out videos out there. I'm like changing up the style a little bit. I always say that sometime around this year, and then I get burnt out by October because it's holidays and I won't have stuff. But hopefully that will not happen, so I'll go ahead and do that. Also, go check out the Infinity Cast. The link is in the description, the website. Go follow all the people there. They're the ones that put on this channel, and they're the ones that support me in my endeavors, and they're all very wonderful and lovely people. We might also be cooking a little something up soon, so watch out for the website and watch out for the YouTubes for that. But with that being said, thank you all for checking out this podcast. I hope you all have a lovely evening, day, night, morning, wherever it is in your world. And I will see you guys all in the next episode. Have a lovely one.